Oh, we probably seen this already.
Don't listen to them.
Is this Taiwan?
It's the 1940s, and China is ripping itself apart.
Are complaining like some hoes.
The ruling government is quickly losing the country to a rising communist revolution. It's a well-organized military movement supported by the Soviet Union, led by revolutionary Mao Zedong, and they're now marching across the country, driving out the ruling government all the way down to here, where the government—
Dude, I know my history now, guys. The revolution pushed downwards, and then China V1, right, got relegated to the island. Now China V1 is that, but China V2 is like, yo, we are the real China, right? So you have to come with us and beat China V2. But these guys are like, nah, we're on the island, we're China V1, and we kind of are China. So you guys can have the lens all good, but we are China. And now it's kind of like two China's where China 2 is kind of mad about that.
2 years
and they want to get back the island.
Government leaders and over 1 million loyalists and soldiers retreat on boats and planes across this strait to a Chinese island that had been taken over by Japan but had just been liberated. Mao's fighters can't go any further. They can't reach the island without a proper navy or air force, which they did not have yet. For now, the near-defeated Republic of China is safe on this island. And this isn't just any island. 400 years before this, Portuguese explorers arrived here. Ilha Formosa, or Beautiful Island. It was sought after by empires from Europe to—
Jake is at 8X? Yo, Jake is at 8X? 8XW?
to Asia, for its fertile land and strategic military and trade location at the heart of Asia's ocean corridors. China had lost this island for 50 years to Japan, but the winners of World War II said that China would get it back. The island was called Taiwan, and now it was home to the Republic of China's government. They're safe here for now. Back here on the mainland, Mao declares the People's Republic of China, a new communist nation that was to restore the greatness of the Chinese nation after years of domination by outsiders. Literally a day later, the Soviet Union recognizes Mao's government as the legitimate government of China. But this civil war isn't actually over. Both sides still claim to be the rightful government of China, and the Republic of China government plans to continue to fight from their island refuge to eventually take back the mainland. They rule the island with a military government that arrests, imprisons, or executes anyone suspected of disloyalty or communist sympathy, or anyone who wants independence from all of this. Meanwhile, Mao is working on his navy, getting ready to cross this strait. He's gathering his forces and building his capabilities to be able to complete his takeover of the entire country. But not yet. Now, the US is out here in a big way. They just defeated Japan in World War II. They're kind of trying to leave Asia, and they're eyeing all of this and deciding to not get involved. They don't recognize Mao's new country, the PRC, and they do hate that a communist government now controls the world's most populous country. But they have other priorities, namely rebuilding Europe after the big war. They've just created a big military alliance with their European allies to counter Soviet influence. The Soviet Union—
Now it's like the modern world though, right? Like we don't do this shit anymore, kind of, right? Like people are gonna rebel. It's like if people want to do some fucking war crimes, they have to lock in before the fucking new age shit. You know what I mean?
Was their friend in the war, but is now their rival. Oh, and they just got nuclear weapons like the US did 4 years earlier.
No?
President Truman's Secretary of State draws this line on a map, shows it to people at a press conference, saying that anything outside this zone is outside of America's defense commitments. This includes Korea and Taiwan that, remember, the US said would be given back to China after the war, and Vietnam, where local communist fighters are kicking out the French, declaring a new communist country that is being recognized by China and the Soviet Union. This is all concerning to the United States, but this is outside of their perimeter. Back in Washington, the communist hawks are hating that the US is letting communism spread in Asia, that Taiwan will soon fall. But Truman says this is a civil conflict in China. We're going to leave it to them to work out. That's the policy. That is until everything changes all at once. It's a morning in the summer of 1950, and a flood of Korean troops from the Soviet-aligned side of Korea rush across this line. They tear through the American-aligned South, almost taking the whole country in just 11 weeks. It's another communist revolution, and these soldiers are equipped with Soviet guns, tanks, and artillery. They invaded only after getting the green light from the Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, who also, by the way, said they needed to get the green light from Mao.
Hold on.
Now, Mao had been hesitant to support this invasion of Korea, knowing that it might invite the wrath of the United States, but he had to show that he was willing to support communist revolutions everywhere. Eventually, he would commit some of his troops to go fight in Korea to help his fellow communists liberate the Korean peninsula. Now, the US doesn't have troops in Korea in this moment. Remember, it's outside of their perimeter, but now they're starting to change their mind. This is starting to look like a coordinated communist conspiracy all across the region. It's threatening to turn the whole map red.
Chat. Okay, question. Why don't they just agree? Let's keep it a buck. The past was kind of odd. Shit's kind of fucky. But we could both keep our countries and we could just live our lives. No? I mean, they have all of the land. I mean, it's just a small, it's just a small slab. You know what I mean?
But there's still time to push it back. The US crosses the line that they drew a few months earlier and goes full force to stop the spread of communism. Truman tells the nation that he's sending troops to Korea, and in the same speech, he also says that he's ordered a huge naval fleet to Taiwan to, quote, prevent any attack. He's not going to let Mao take the island now. And to justify this sudden U-turn, Truman says something that will influence how the US approaches this situation to this day. He says that Taiwan isn't actually officially a part of any country yet. It had been a Japanese colony until 1945, when Japan surrendered it when they lost the war. But they technically haven't worked out their sovereignty in any official treaty yet. So for now, Taiwan's status is technically undetermined, which makes it okay for us, the United States, to move in and protect it from Mao. Now, Mao is looking at all
like
of this,
a global
and I can
law
imagine he's feeling
loophole.
some regret over the green light he gave the North Koreans to invade the South. It was looking more like a strategic error, which brought the US into his neighborhood, prevented him from taking this island. And so, for the next 3 years, this brutal Korean War rages on. It eventually settles into a tense stalemate that still hasn't ended. So it's 1953, and it's looking like the US is going to be in Asia for a while, all in the name of contain.
Guys, why is North Korea griefing the entire lobby? I've always wondered this. They're like the player that, let's keep it a buck, doesn't benefit much from fucking trolling the game. It's not like they're prosperous and they're fucking balling out and all the citizens are rich as fuck. They're trolling the game. Like, Korea is gonna fuck by this. Everyone is fucked by this. The lobby is griefed, but why? Like, what's the motive of just saying, we're just gonna troll the game?
Containing the spread of communism, which they do by building out a chain of island bases that form this line of defense against their communist enemies. And you can see that Taiwan is right at the center of it.
I'm gonna do the same shit. What the fuck? If I was in power, I'd probably do worse.
Congress gives the president full
I'm kidding.
authorization to defend Taiwan. The president is allowed to put nukes on the island.
I'm just kidding, just...
Mao, meanwhile, is reshaping his country in huge ways, and he needs to drum up support from his people, which he does by initiating an attack, unleashing tens of thousands of rounds of artillery on these close-by islands that the Republic of China still controls.
Wait, on their own land?
The US wants to show Mao how serious they are about coming to Taiwan's defense. US military planners draw up plans to drop nukes on the PRC. In one plan, they calculate up to 1 million potential casualties if they do the attack, but they never do. But they do send in a huge armada of military hardware. 2 super aircraft carriers and their destroyer convoys, 56 combat aircraft, a bunch of their most high-end missiles capable of deploying nuclear weapons, not to mention all the backup in Japan and the Philippines. The US is there, making good on its promise to defend their strategically important island, to keep supply lines open and force Mao to think twice before invading. Now this is looking like the beginning of another bloody war, which is exactly what the Soviet leader back in Moscow is thinking. He sends a telegram to the United States, a pretty long telegram, telling them to back down. This hasty military buildup with nukes that are all concerning a Chinese island that was never theirs. He says this is an open provocation. And then he reminds the US that China isn't alone. China and the Soviet Union are friends, brothers in communism. And he says that an attack on China will be treated as an attack against the Soviet Union, which will lead to World War III, this time with nukes.
Okay, let's give it a back. Let's give it a back.
Then he signs it.
The biggest griefs in the history of the entire lobby. Okay, the 30 colony lead, the fall of the Roman Empire, the fall of Mesopotamia, the fall of the Mongolian Empire. Guys, come on. If you were to rate them, the biggest fumbles. What? The Ottoman Empire, they fumbled that bad? USSR fumbled hard. Let's keep it. They fumbled.
Sincerely, N. Khrushchev.
Oh, the UK fumbled everything. Guys,
this is it.
Guys, the UK had at one point, guys, I'm pretty sure there was like 25% of all of Earth, and they're relegated to a floating rock. Imagine the fumble, brother. You can have multiple universes, multiple timelines across multiple simulations. That's a fumble you can't beat. That's insane.
Ultimately, both sides back down.
Nobody will ever beat this fumble.
But not really. The US keeps tens of thousands of troops here. They keep their nukes ready to go. And right here across the strait, neither of the two Chinas want the other to have the last shot. So they keep shooting a few shells at each other every day, eventually settling into this weird rhythm. Mao's PRC troops fire a few shells. The next day, the Republic of China troops on Taiwan would fire a few shells of their own. Never hitting anything valuable or lethal, but just a reminder that tension is high. They will go on to do this every day for the next 21 years. Okay, so we just narrowly avoided World War III, and things are about to dramatically change here. But first, I should probably thank today's sponsor, because sponsors are how we're able to make...
Guys, I don't get it. Is this are the islands like kind of more liberal? Like, if these are communists, these are more liberal, no?
Make our videos, so let's do that real quick. Thank you, NordVPN, for sponsoring today's video. Nord is a long time...
Well, at least democratic. Well, I mean, at least democratic.
You'll get a big discount on the 2-year plan, plus 4 extra months for free. Again, that's nordvpn.com.
Oh wait, communist is the left as well. No, hold on.
/Johnny Harris. Thank you, NordVPN, for sponsoring today's video, for supporting our journalism.
Oh, they went too far. It's too far.
And with that, let's dive back into the map of Taiwan. Okay, welcome back. It's now the end of the 1950s. We're moving into the 60s, and the US is very much in Asia, obsessed with stopping the spread of communism.
It's an economic far left, but it's also a ideological authoritarian.
Including in Vietnam. They have this defensive island chain on the map with Taiwan at its center. Tensions continue to rise, and in 1960, the US puts nuclear weapons on the island itself. Over here, the Soviet Union is heavily supporting the People's Republic of China, including helping them develop and deploy nuclear weapons, which China officially gets in 1964. So now things are a lot more tense right here. But it doesn't take long before this relationship starts to shift. These two communist empires start to diverge. They start to disagree on how each other is carrying out the communist promise. Mao is radically and violently transforming his China, punishing anyone he sees as disloyal, running huge societal experiments on farming and the economy. And it's not working. Crops are failing, food is disappearing, tens of millions of people are starving. The Soviets see Mao as reckless, unpredictable, destabilizing, and ungrateful for all of this support.
And how are they doing at the time? And were people balling out? Did they all have the food and water supply at the were they balling out?
they've been giving him.
I don't know about
Meanwhile,
that.
Mao is falling out of love with the Soviets as well,
No, they
saying
weren't.
that
What?
they're too accommodating to the capitalist West.
Why, were they?
Not real Marxists.
Fuck no.
Tension rises fast, and soon they're clashing at their shared border. The Soviets are threatening to strike China's nuclear facilities that they just helped them build. And look who comes into the scene.
Why didn't they just
This
build
is a
them
huge
with a
moment for the
fucking
U.S., who is watching
fail-safe?
this big communist alliance fracture. What if they could divide them even further? Richard Nixon becomes president in 1969, and he's intent on playing the China card against the Soviets. And he does so by sending his national security advisor, Henry Kissinger, to secretly start communicating with the Chinese. The US had no formal relations with China, they were enemies. They didn't talk to each other. So Kissinger had to talk to the Chinese using Pakistan as a middleman. They send messages, they arrange a meeting, and soon Kissinger flies to Pakistan, says that he needs some rest, but secretly he sneaks onto a plane that takes him to Beijing, breaking into this place that has been cut off for 2 decades. Now, why is Mao entertaining this cozying up to his enemy, the Americans? Well, he's concluded that the Soviet Union, who has weapons pointed at China at this point, is a more immediate danger, and that the Americans are maybe willing to bargain. Bargain about this. But not if they still have troops and nukes on Taiwan, their giant military base right off his coast. So here's Kissinger in this huge moment.
Yo,
in the
US is
story.
double dipping on
He's
this
in
motherfucker.
Beijing talking to Prime Minister Zhou Enlai, Mao's right-hand man. And the conversation almost immediately goes to Taiwan. The Prime Minister is sharp on his historical details, and he starts off by telling Kissinger basically the story that I've told you so far. He reminds Kissinger that after World War II, Truman was okay with Taiwan being a part of China. That is until he suddenly changed his mind when the Korean War broke out, and starts calling Taiwan's status undetermined, a stance China deeply rejects.
No, so let me guess. The top Korea, the one, fucking North Korea, gets mad they can't have all Korea, so they grief the lobby. It's crab mentality. They're up there. They get mad they can't push down, so they say, okay, then I'm trolling the lobby. That's what's happening.
And then suddenly, the U.S.
boom,
takes
crazy.
over Taiwan, a Chinese island, and turns it into basically a huge military base with nuclear weapons, 130 kilometers off the Chinese mainland, and the center of a military effort to contain China and its neighbors. Kissinger agrees with this. He says blatantly in this private conversation that if the Korean War didn't happen, Taiwan would probably belong to the PRC. But he says previous administrations made Taiwan a key part of the Korean War. So here we are. But then he says
PRC,
we're
the
different
public,
now. We're no longer going after communism for
Guys, what's the PRC? Hold on, I can't say that.
communism.
The Republic of Congo? People's Republic of China.
But then he says we're different now. We're no longer going after communism for communism's sake. The new President Nixon, quote, operates on a different philosophy. We can be friends even if you're communists.
People's Republic of China.
Now, Kissinger's main goal is to befriend the PRC to divide it from the Soviet Union. But even with that in mind, Prime Minister Zhou says that he trusts Kissinger. He believes him. But then he says that the key question is if the US is ready to recognize that Taiwan's status is not undetermined, that it is a part of China, and that there is only one China. He says, quote, this is the crux. Nothing can happen unless we agree to that. And Kissinger says, yes, we're not advocating for 2 Chinas or 1 China and 1 Taiwan, but look at the language in this
This is
transcript.
complicated.
He vaguely remarks that, quote, as a student of history, one's prediction would have it be that the political evolution is likely to be in the direction that the PRC wants. This is a tactfully vague way of saying that Taiwan will probably be reunited with the PRC, but
I just don't see it. Why didn't they just all in? When you're playing Risk and you really want something, you all in. Why did if they really want Taiwan, why did they wait to build a navy or some shit? Fucking all in to get it. And they didn't get it. It's all good. I mean, no problem. I mean, then you don't get it. It is what it is.
we'll see. Kissinger is kind of throwing Taiwan under the bus here, at least in the words of one expert I talked to. But again, his goal is to get leverage over the Soviets, so he's willing to give something up to the Chinese. He promises to not support any independence movements in Taiwan, and he even says that the US will take out all their troops. But in return, he needs the PRC to tell the communist fighters that they're supporting in Vietnam to negotiate a peace deal, to release American prisoners of war so that the US can leave Vietnam. And Joe's like, We'll try.
Guys, what's
And
Indochina?
soon there's a sense of agreement in the room. The Prime Minister says he's hopeful. It sounds like these enemies are taking the first steps towards friendship. And soon,
Vietnam.
everything changes once again, really quick. Hey, before we continue, I need to tell you about the platform we've been building that we're launching.
Buddy, what if you're an agent who's on a diplomatic mission and the country trolls the game, your country, and they do some fucking shit while you're over there? What are you going to do? You're fucked. Aren't you just dead?
Recording journey to see deeper way. Curiosity. So, if you now we've new cuisine publicly Taiwan of 1971. The People's Republic of China is adopted into the UN. Taiwan gets kicked out. President Nixon then goes to China, totally publicly, and announces that they're starting to talk to each other, that friendship is in the near future. They aren't officially recognizing the PRC as a real country, but they're warming up. During this visit, Nixon has some secret talks with Zhou Enlai, Mao's right-hand man who Kissinger had negotiated with. The declassified transcript of these private conversations contains a moment where Nixon, straight up, in his own words, acknowledges that, quote, there is one China. Taiwan is a part of China. And then he says that if he could control the American bureaucracy back home, he would tell them to do away with referring to Taiwan's status as undetermined. That was not American policy towards Taiwan, but you can almost feel how eager Nixon is to make this friendship work, to divide the Soviets from their big ally.
Or to
He's kind of
appear
getting
that
out of
way.
his skis.
Yo,
So it's 1972, and
It's
Nixon
just a
and Kissinger
temporary
have
smoke
successfully
screen.
pulled off this rebalancing. They've gained a ton of leverage over the Soviets by dividing them from the Chinese and then starting to befriend them. And then the Vietnam War ends. Not quite with the support from China that Kissinger had envisioned, but the troops are gone, which lowers tensions even more. In 1974, the US takes its nukes off the island, another down payment towards full friendship. Soon after, Mao, the revolutionary who started this country, dies. And the leaders who take his place come in much more open to trade in the global markets. The US sees huge potential here. So in the late 70s, President Jimmy Carter finishes what Kissinger and Nixon had started a few years earlier. The US officially recognizes the People's Republic of China as the only China, no longer recognizing Taiwan. They move their China embassy from Taipei to Beijing. More countries are flipping as well. At this same time, the US erases the treaty that says that they would protect Taiwan. They remove all troops from the island, and that shooting match that had been going on for years every day, that finally stops. Capitalism with Chinese characteristics is taking off, and these two are trading, reshaping the global economy. It's a monumental shift in just a few years.
Yo,
and just as
so they are capitalists then. Why do they say that it's not? No?
Kissinger and Nixon wanted, it weakened and isolated the Soviet Union, and it started a new era
I think
of
it's kinda
Chinese-American
cope.
relations. But notice that in all of this, even during all the friendship, all the visits, the US never publicly acknowledges what Nixon said in private, that Taiwan is a part of China. They recognize that Beijing thinks this, but they continue to operate
Okay.
with
Is it like a socialist democratic thing or whatever, like a hybrid or something, or what? Because do they have healthcare, top free education, all that?
the ambiguous policy that Truman laid out in the 50s, that Taiwan's status is undetermined.
Really?
In a short time, Taiwan went from core ally to diplomatic orphan on the world stage. And many Americans and members of Congress didn't feel right about abandoning an ally.
The fall of the West chat is multiple components. I don't want to be rude to the United States, but they need to lock in it. Let's give it a buck. Their schools are cooking. Everything is cooking. And over here, I have to be honest with you, it's gonna falling apart straight up. Even some of the top schools is straight fucking dog shit. Like, when did they lock in?
The way is changing into a more open and developed economy and society. We're abandoning them all to embrace a communist, authoritarian former enemy? What message does this send to our other allies? So while Carter is normalizing relations, Congress is passing a law to reassure Taiwan. The law says, yes, the US doesn't recognize Taiwan as a country, but we will still support it as a partner. And crucially, the law says that even though the troops are leaving, the US is required to sell weapons to Taiwan so that they can defend themselves. And finally, if that wasn't enough, the US will maintain capabilities to come to Taiwan's rescue if they're ever to be invaded.
Yo.
But they stopped.
What should I think about that? I mean, now they're joining the game.
Short of saying that they actually would come to their rescue. It was intentionally crafted to be ambiguous, to give reassurance to Taiwan so that they didn't go declare independence, cause a conflict, but not to make promises that would anger China, who, by the way, sees this law as cheating the spirit of their agreement, seeing the US as an insincere friend.
Well, I mean, yeah, true.
China's position here is
True.
that they are officially the government of China, which includes Taiwan, which was to begin.
Yo, China is train and USA is the fucking PG-13 streamers, OTV and shit.
Given back to China after World War II, the Allies said they would, and that Taiwan would be like any other part of China today if the US hadn't stepped in the 1950s. That's their position. And they begin a campaign to try to convince Taiwan to come back into China peacefully.
That was a good way to put it.
Too late. This whole time, Taiwan has been transforming, its economy looking like one of those miracles. And by now, it's replaced its decades of military dictatorship with...
Chat, if they do that good, right, in economy and shit like that, why don't they just divide the country into small little slabs of land like that and say, okay, lock in like that. And everybody locks in like 1,000 small countries, and then they just win.
Democracy. It's the 1990s and they're holding elections for the first time on the island. The US is loving this. They want to support it. They give one of the candidates in the election a visa to come visit the United States. And for China, this has gone too far. They immediately recall their ambassador from Washington, D.C. They amass 100,000 troops across the Strait of Taiwan, right here at this strait. They launch missiles,
The US doesn't matter because they're just
that land
fucking
20
dumbass.
miles northwest of
Doesn't
the
count.
island. There's warships and aircraft. They're threatening the island, warning them against embracing democracy and the United States. But here comes the response. It's March 1996. And the US sends 2 aircraft carrier battle groups to the waters near Taiwan. It's the largest show of force in this region since Vietnam. The standoff dies down, and while all of this is happening, on the island, this first democratic election goes forward peacefully. Taiwanese voters turn out in huge numbers, 76%.
What?
They're defying this attempt to be bullied by their big neighbor who they identify less and less with. And the world watches as a symbol of democracy flourishes in the shadow of the intimidation of their huge neighbor. A neighbor who becomes infamous for massacring peaceful pro-democracy protesters in Tiananmen Square. A democratic Taiwan, supported by the US, is reversing some of this warmth and friendship that was cultivated in the 70s and 80s. Tension is back, especially now that it's the 90s and the Soviet Union has collapsed. They no longer have a mutual enemy. And once again...
So USSR says, yo, you guys are doing dog shit, you're trash. We need to stop this up because you guys are not good. And then they fucking collapse first. Like, really? I mean, maybe you were trolling the game, no?
Taiwan is at the center of this growing tension. But by now, the island knows how disposable the US can treat them if they lose their strategic value. So they continue to position themselves in a way that will result in protection from the United States. The government has been subsidizing companies that are becoming top manufacturers of these valuable little silicon chips, semiconductors that make computers work. These
what made these guys lock in on that though? Like, how is it that the guy they pushed against the wall, right? They lock in, they do this one thing, nobody else can.
Chips are becoming more and more vital to economic and military power. And if Taiwan can become the epicenter of making them, then the US will have more of an incentive to protect them, to keep this valuable capability out of Beijing's control. This works tremendously well. And by the 2000s, valuable technology companies like Apple and AMD and Qualcomm have outsourced the incredibly expensive and complex task of manufacturing microchips to Taiwan firms. One in particular. One microchip company wouldn't even exist without Taiwan to make their chips. That's NVIDIA. So there's tension here, but that doesn't stop China from trading with the US and the rest of the world.
What if there's some dictator out there that says, all I want to do is troll everything? Let's say they had the only chip manufacturer and they say, you know what? I'm the president. Just because I can, you guys are not making chips anymore. We ban the chips. That's it. Done. The whole world. Nobody gets any chips. Fuck this. Why? It was like, why? Because I fucking want to. I don't have to explain to you.
months.
I mean,
Can I get a
right?
welcome to the jungle?
Yo, imagine the impact of one man. That would be the greatest, biggest impact on the world that one man can have.
Resulting in economic
that's
growth
historic.
like the world has never seen. They become rich really fast.
Okay, go on,
and with
chat.
that, they build a world-class military. And even after all of these years, they still remind the world that they are set on finishing the civil war that the US stopped them from completing, reunifying with Taiwan, who they see slipping further and further away. In 2005, Beijing passes this anti-secession law, which says that China will pursue unification with Taiwan by peaceful means, but they reserve the right to use, quote, non-peaceful means if Taiwan moves towards formal independence or if peaceful unification becomes impossible. The United States disagrees with this. Under their One China policy,
Just let it go, bro.
Washington
Just let it go.
acknowledges China's position,
Chat,
but
this
it doesn't
is like the
endorse
Gucci
it.
bag.
And it says that Taiwan's future must be decided
47
peacefully,
months
without
of
coercion,
Merry
and with
Christmas.
agreement of people on both sides of the strait. But even despite this law, relations across the strait start improving in the 90s and 2000s, thanks mostly to economics, mutually beneficial deals. And the PRC continues to incentivize some kind of peaceful reunification with Taiwan, telling them that they can keep their way of life and their system. There seems to be some hope in the air here, but that quickly fades as nationalism starts to rise on both sides of the strait and across the ocean. The modern-day version of this
give
conflict
some
is
chips a little bit,
overseen
no?
by Xi Jinping, who rises to lead the PRC in 2012 with the vision of rejuvenating the Chinese nation. This includes fortifying their territory, including first and foremost Taiwan, a symbol of this effort, who, quote, must be reunited with the mainland, according to Xi. This vision has been paired with a rapid growth of the Chinese army, and the US now sees China as their greatest rival, and has responded with a military buildup of their own in this region, resurrecting that old island chain.
Chat. Now all they need is one more player to grief the lobby, whether it's Russia, fucking whoever the fuck, so they can make the fake ally bullshit again with China. They do the same charade again. Do the thing where, oh nah, we got you. This is chilling. We're chilling.
It's been tech wars and tariffs and sanctions and bluster. And the relationship between these two great powers has deteriorated in recent years for reasons that have little or nothing to do with Taiwan, but that serve as a reminder that this decades-old balance that keeps peace here is deeply reliant on what happens between these two superpowers. Meanwhile, the 23 million people on this island continue to develop their own identity. Only around 12% of the population favors any kind of reunification with the mainland. And yet, China continues to flex on Taiwan. They fire missiles over the island, they practice invasion drills, they send ships and jets to block Taiwan's sea and airspace for days. They show them just how easy it would be for them to take this little island. That is, if the US doesn't come to their rescue. And everybody asks, would they come? The US uses that intentional ambiguity to keep this tense situation somewhat stable. And, as planned, Taiwan now manufactures 90% of the most advanced microchips, the chips that have made NVIDIA the most valuable.
So why don't they get like an Iron Dome thing? If these guys are like trolling the airspace or whatever, so, okay, well we're a country and anything goes into the zone unidentified. If you don't say yo, what's up? Shoot it down. Boom.
Company in the world. And official US government policy still says that Taiwan's status is undetermined, operating with this intentional strategic ambiguity that at once keeps the situation stable, but also precarious and unpredictable, especially as Sino-American relations deteriorate. And Taiwan continues the 75-year-old story of living at the center of these big countries struggling for power, and wielding the psychological tools of ambiguity and deterrence that keep all sides guessing.
We actually lost. Yo, let's give it a buck. Let's give it a buck. The entire nation fell for WRB. It is what it is. Everybody fell for fucking one man buying fucking Twitter, turning into a complete dog shit RB fest. And what's going on? Imagine, everybody fell for RB, but now, imagine when AI does the RB. GG. I mean, bro, if people were spammed by fucking morons, that minute you put AI into this shit, GG. RB is rage bait. It's rage bait. Bro, the whole nation fell for rage bait. That's crazy. That is diabolical. Think about it. The impact of Twitter going straight RP. Now put AI into the
Welcome
equation,
to the
GG.
fucking jungle smile.
Yo, all they have to do is just inject a bunch of dog shit AI from other countries to feed it to the United States. Everybody is gonna start fucking like a rat doing circles in a cage with dog shit information while they progress. It was just, oh my god, dude, is our trees real? Our trees real? And it's full send. Fucking thousands of AI shit spamming fucking Twitter full of, have you seen the clouds? Those aren't real. And people go, it's already happening, you know? Everybody's losing their minds. Doing what? Nothing. Wasting their time, man. That's RB. Come on, bro. Yo, half the comments on Twitter are either this is fake until I see it with my own eyes, or it's Israel. Like, there's no in between. Everybody's so fucking brain dead. Like, no, I get it. You don't get it. You don't get it. Everybody's rotted, like out the wazoo. Whatever, man. Look at any replies. Yo, you think any post you want. Get something, right? Let's say, oh, the shooter of this has been caught, whatever. Dude, how do we? Just look at the comments. It's all dog shit.